Good evening and welcome to the March 9th meeting of the Murfreesboro City School Board. We're glad to have those of you in our audience that are with us tonight, and we're glad to have those that are at home watching on cable TV. At this time, I'm going to ask you to please stand as our new Director of Schools, Mr. Trey Duke, will lead us in our pledge, followed then by a moment of silence. You'll want to remember Wes Ballard and his family as his wife is recovering from some back surgery.
I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now our moment of silence. Thank you. I will remind board members to please remove your mask when you speak so that the TV audience can pick up what is being said. All right, you have received a copy of the agenda for tonight. Do I have a motion to approve the agenda as printed?
So moved.
Thank you, Ms. Moore. Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Ballard. All in favor say aye.
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 Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. Communications? Ms. Trail?
Good evening.
Good evening. Good evening.
We have a lot of communications tonight, and I've rearranged a few things, so I won't be going exactly in the order just to make it flow a little bit easier. But we have a lot of activities in our schools, which is great. Bradley Academy is excited to host a virtual math and literacy night on Tuesday, March 23rd for their students and the families. Case and Lane Academy has officially applied for their STEM designation with TSIN and would like to invite board members to participate and provide students with feedback during the virtual STEAM Walk on March 25th. You'll be receiving an invitation in your email soon from Case and Lane. Scales Elementary will be Zooming with Mr. Ryan Haroldjack, the founder of Ryan's Well. The students studied about Ryan's Well in their English language curriculum. As a first grader over 30 years ago, he studied about places with limited access to water and dreamed of raising money to buy a well for a community in Africa. After raising money for one well, he started a foundation and now runs that full time. So this ties perfectly with their English language curriculum, and they're actually going to be Zooming with him at the site of one of the wells that they're building now. So it's really cool for them and the experience. I know that we've been limited with our field trips. With the field trips the teachers are able to provide through resources like this is just amazing. So very, very excited for them. At the end, they're actually going to create a PSA for conserving water. So that's pretty exciting for Scales. Mm-hmm. Black Fox Elementary is hosting a virtual literacy night on Tuesday, March 9th. That's tonight. And participating in MTSU's virtual math night on Tuesday, March 18th. The virtual math night also includes Case and Lane, Reeves, Discovery, Mitchell-Nielsen, and Northfield. So this event has grown from 2 schools last year to 6 this year. The MCS voluntary pre-K applications are available now online and at the school offices. Applications will be accepted and screenings will be held at Murfreesboro City Schools Central Office on March 22nd, 23rd, 24th, and 26th from 8 to 4, and March 25th from 8 to 6. The screenings will also be held at the Head Start office on Vine Street on April 12th, 13th, 14th, and 16th from 8 to 4, and April 15th from 8 to 6. There will be interpreters and lots of people there during those screenings to help all of our families. The week of March 7th through 13th marks the celebration of National School Social Work Week. Our social workers are vital to the whole child approach at MCS. We're going to recognize them a bit later, but we do want to make sure that everyone knows that we are celebrating them this week. The 2021-22 Choice School applications are now open for parents. Choice schools include Hobgood, Bradley, and Mitchell-Nielsen. Additionally, Discovery School mailed their letters of acceptance to the new kindergarten class Friday, and that will be the class of 2021-22. So parents need to look for those choice school applications. They are online now. Congratulations to the 36 gifted graduates for 2021. The graduating class is listed in your board information, but for time purposes, I'm not going to go through all those names for you. The Gifted Academy, sponsored by the Jennings and Rebecca Jones Foundation in collaboration with MTSU, aims to expand Murfreesboro City Schools' gifted education program by equipping teachers with tools to identify and engage gifted students. Congratulations to the gifted graduates. MCS now has about 300 teachers who have graduated from that program. The City Schools Art Show is now on display. If you walk through the rotunda, you should have seen artwork from all of our schools. The show will remain up until the beginning of May, and we'll be having an art show preview on City TV and Facebook in April. Thank you to the City TV staff for helping make that happen. March 22nd is our next transition period for students to choose traditional or virtual classes. This is the last transition open period for the school year. Parents should be letting their principals and teachers know by this Thursday if their intention to return back to school for that last quarter. Congratulations to Board Member Amanda Moore on being selected as part of the 2021 School Board Partners Fellow Cohort. Ms. Moore joins 42, I believe, additional board members from across the nation in this competitive 2-year fellowship. So congratulations, Ms. Moore. Thanks for representing Murfreesboro City Schools. Discovery Schools virtual run is happening now. You can run, you can walk, you can do however you want to do to help raise money for their track. The track will be part of the Discovery Schools, not only the school, but for the community as well. More details about that on Discovery Schools website. The Tennessee Commission on Children and Youth will be having a brief tribute for Dr. Linda Gilbert tomorrow during the Child Advocacy Day. Also, Ms. Kiana Reed will be recognized for her wonderful work with children. So we appreciate the Tennessee Commission for recognizing 2 of our outstanding leaders in whole child approach. Finally, we want to take this opportunity to thank Mr. Jack Heydrich with the Barfield Medical Clinic, or walk-in clinic, for his leadership in our COVID vaccination distribution. Together with his leadership and the leadership of Darla Sampson, Sarah Walker, the entire nursing team, as well as coordinated school health team, Murfreesboro City Schools vaccinated 827 individuals on Friday. This could not have been done without our partners with the Rutherford County Health Department, our EMA, Rutherford County Fire, our SROs, and just everyone working together as a team. So this is at the end of my communication, but I did want to take this opportunity to recognize Mr. Heydrich did join us. So if you have questions, but I was. So also, coordinated school health is here, nursing's here. I do not want to take any accolades away from them. So if you have questions about Friday, I know several of you came. It was just seamless. And again, having Jack step up and be our medical director that day, and just the EMA coming together, it was amazing. So questions, and I'm going to ask one of them to come to the podium.
I just have a comment.
Ms. Barton?
I talked to many people that participated in the vaccination and process Friday, and I mean, all I heard were fantastic things about not waiting, about how efficient and well done it was. And as we all know, when you're putting together that many people and that many moving parts, it's hard to make all of that look seamless. I think somebody said that word. So again, shout out to all of you. I know I see Sarah and I see others here too, and all the nursing staff, because they did a phenomenal job.
Mm-hmm.
I will agree. I did have the opportunity to go by there that morning, and it was just, it was just as smooth as silk. It was, everybody was in their place. People were getting their shots. And all, the things that go along with it. It was very well done, and thanks to all of those that had anything to do with it, and certainly also for Salem for hosting it.
Absolutely.
I think that was a major thing as well.
And EA's worked in that as well. Schools sent employees to work in that as well, right? So just, everybody.
There was a lot of people.
Yeah.
We had everyone from physical education, teachers, our nutrition team. If you had a free moment, you either volunteered to work or you were getting vaccinated. So that worked really nicely. And our
How many
principals-
tables were set up
tables?
for
Vaccinations?
vaccine?
There's nine nurses.
We have 20 tables at Salem, and I think we had to go and get a few more.
What were all the other tables there?
Okay, so we had 9 nursing stations where the vaccinations were being given, and the rest were registrations, and so it just helped everybody move all the way through the line.
Okay.
So you did your first registration and kind of your checkpoints, and then you went over and did your vaccination. Then there was areas where either they would go out to their car and wait their 15 minutes with their flashers on, and that's where the SROs really helped and watched out. If you beeped your horn, there was too many people at your door, it was kind of scary. Or you would sit in the area so that we could watch that. And I think, again, I have to give just so much applause to this team for working together, and for Jack. We could not have done it without Jack and the health department. It's just, we walked away very happy, very tired, but very happy. So, and then we will be doing it again in just a few weeks. So, okay.
Okay, thank you.
That is the end of my communications, sir.
Thank you, ma'am, very much. Mr. Ballard?
It's a communication question basically regarding Discovery School comment. Oh, the mask, excuse me. Okay, that reminds me, the Discovery School track, didn't the board do some budgeting to to give some money for that track to be built? And you probably don't know, and I don't see Christina here, but,
No.
Oh, there's,
oh, is she? Am I confused?
The track that they're building at Discovery, they just came and
Track,
presented it
the
to us.
improvements that are being made at Discovery School.
I think it was a presentation. It was a presentation about what
Yeah,
was
they came and did a presentation about
But
it.
we didn't budget you any money at that time? Okay, good. Well, I've got a real good memory. It's just not long enough, so.
I'm sorry,
Christina, where is the track? Is it around I'm gonna call it the football field?
It's gonna go in the open space right outside left side of the gym.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
If you're looking at Discovery from the road, it will be on your left side.
Right. What are we gonna do with all those football teams that play on the weekends?
Well, there's the central part in the middle of the track that they're welcome to use.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. Mr. Duke, I think you have a special introduction to
Yes,
make
sir.
tonight, perhaps?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I am excited and privileged to introduce Miss Kim Williams as our new finance director here in Murfreesboro City. She started with us back March 1st when I started. Miss Williams comes to us with an extensive background in school finance. Previously, she was the accounting manager in Rutherford County Schools, where she played an integral role in their district by managing the daily operations of their finance department. In addition to being a previous board member for the Tennessee Association of School Business Officials, she is a certified government finance manager and will soon have her certified county finance officer designation. She is very knowledgeable. She is extremely hardworking, and in the last week and a half, I've realized what an invaluable piece of the team she already is. So I want to take a moment and introduce Ms. Williams to you guys.
Oh,
Thank you, Ms. Williams, and thank you, Mr. Duke. Next item, recognition of school social workers. Mr. Marlin?
Good evening, Board, and thank you for this opportunity to recognize some really important people in our school district. Our school social workers play such an integral part. I just want to read a couple of statements from the School Social Work Association of America, and then I'm going to ask them to come on up. If ladies, if you want to come on up, I'd like them to introduce themselves so you can put names and faces together. But the school board, the school social workers are real-life beacons of hope, shining a light on the need for mental health services, offering hope for students and families who face various challenges, and lighting the way for marginalized youth. We join with students, families, and school staff across the nation in saluting our school social workers on the celebration of School Social Work Week. School social workers work collaboratively with school psychologists and school counselors to coordinate and not duplicate services provided to support students and their families. They provide services at school, in the community, and through home visits to best meet the needs of families. Often considered the front line of mental health services, school social workers can make great contributions to improving school culture and climate, thereby increasing school safety through trusting relationships built with students and their families. And those words were from the executive director of the School Social Workers Association of America. I included in your packet a brief brochure. I just want to share a couple of things off of that. This is again from the School Social Workers Association. Answering the question, who are school social workers? School social workers are trained mental health professionals with a degree in social work who provide services related to a person's social, emotional, and life adjustment to school and/or society. School social workers are the link between the home, school, and community in providing direct as well as indirect services to students, families, and school personnel to promote and support students' academic and social success. So that's such an important part of what they do, and on that brochure are some of the job descriptions, some of the many things that they're involved with. For instance, working with the problems in a child's living situation that affect the child's adjustment in school, mobilizing family, school, and community resources to enable the child to learn as effectively as possible in his or her educational program, interviewing families to assess problems affecting the child's educational adjustment, assisting parents in accessing and utilizing school and community resources, and finally, providing case management for students and families requiring multiple resources. I use that term probably not in the way that they would use that term of case management, but they really pull lots of resources together for families that are in serious need. On a personal note, I just want to share what I have seen in my experiences when working with them. I've been fortunate to work with them for several years. One of my favorite stories was a day that I had planned a call in. I just would like to check in with them from time to time, and had planned a call with Amy, and I got a call from her, and she was apologizing because she wanted to know if we could reschedule the meeting. And I said, well, sure, Amy, what's going on? And she said, well, I'm at a gas station with a family who's been living in their car. She was helping them to get gas. She was going to help them work on finding housing, and she was making sure that they had food to eat and that sort of thing. And I thought, my little 15-minute meeting was not nearly as important in finding out what's going on with her as the job that she was doing. And they do those sorts of things all the time. In another situation, Heather last year reminded me of the case where a child had been at school for several months with a cast that should have been removed much earlier. Now, I may have that time frame. I may be making that a little bit big, but it was long past being due to remove. And that was one of the things that she did in her role as a social worker, is helping that family find the resources to make sure that the child got the medical care that he needed in order to take care of that issue. So that's the sort of things they do all the time. I will say this. Heather asked me just a minute ago if I was going to mention. I do want to mention some of the adversity they've been through this year, and everybody has. We all know that. But they lost a valued member, one of their team, and they worked through that. And that's one reason I was not going to do this. I didn't want to get choked up. But they worked through that together and helped carry the load. And even through that time, those of you who know Kiana Reed know that she continued to work. She conducted work from home on the telephone. She had to stay safe. She could not be exposed to disease, but she continued to work through that time, and they all supported each other, and that's the way they operate. So I'm going to let them introduce themselves real quickly, let you know what schools they work at, and then if you have any questions, give you an opportunity to ask those.
Hello, I'm Heather Anderson, and I cover John Pittard, Reeves Rogers, Discovery, and while we're training, I'm covering Salem and Scales as well. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, I'm LaToya Beard. I cover Mitchell Nelson Schools, Casey Lane, Erma-Siegel, and while we're training, Black Box.
I'm Amy Wyatt, and I cover Overall, Bradley, and Hopgood.
Hi, my name is Taylor Richardson, and I am currently training, but I will have Black Fox, Salem, and Northfield.
And for your information, Board, we do have another school social worker who works with us in the special education department. I'm just going to read her statement. She couldn't be here tonight. She's sick. She's Kelly Blanchard. She's a licensed school social worker. She's been with our district for 6 years, and she works with the integrated preschool program, which is a special education preschool that starts serving students at age 3. She provides support for families who have children aging out of the Tennessee early intervention systems and into our integrated preschool. She provides one-on-one and group interventions for students needing additional social and emotional support. So sorry she could be here tonight, and hopefully she's watching us on television. But I just want to take this opportunity. Now, the celebration part, let's give them all a big hand. I think that's Any questions, sir, that you want to, that anyone? Yes, ma'am.
Oh, I always want to say something good. They're too important to our system. Just that I loved seeing the brochure, but I was laughing because there is no way to list everything that these people have done and will do for the next however many years they're social workers. So their hearts are huge. They spend way too much of their own money. I could go on and on and on. So, thank you.
Thank you. That brings out a good point. They asked me to let you know they spend the bulk of their time and energy with students who are homeless and those homeless families, and then with students who are experiencing attendance issues and truancy and those families to help work through that. And then finally, for students who are in DCS custody or foster care, they're foster care students. So that's where they spend, because they are spread thin. As big a district as we are, they have to cover a lot of territory. You can tell by the list of schools that they serve that they cover a lot of ground.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes, Mr. Chairman, thank you. These individuals right here, they're described as foot soldiers and frontline workers. They give voice to the voiceless. They fill in that education gap. They give their hearts and their souls, and they go above and beyond. And the proof's in the pudding. We see it in the schools. We could not do it without you, and I know personally just how hard you work and how much it all means to you. So thank you so very much.
Thank you. Ladies, thank you very much. You are an integral part of Murfreesboro City school system, and don't let anybody ever tell you different. Thank you, Mr. Marlin.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, board members, you have in your agenda, you received a copy of the consent items. Do I have a motion to approve the consent items as printed?
Mr. Chairman?
Yes, sir.
So moved.
Thank you, Mr. Settles. Do I have a second?
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. Any question or comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. Action items.
Yes, approval of Board Policy 4.700. Earlier this year, during the special session of the General Assembly, the Accountability Hold Harmless Law was passed. This law provides flexibility to districts, specifically around COVID-19 related possible negative consequences resulting from this spring's TCAP assessment. The policy change we are recommending approval of specifically addresses the incorporation of TCAP scores in a student's final grade for this year. Currently, our policy states that the score will comprise 15% of the student's spring semester final grade. We are recommending for this year that this percentage be moved to 0%.
Have a motion to approve the policy?
Absolutely.
Thank you, Ms. Barton. We have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Settles. Any discussion?
I do have discussion.
Yes, sir.
I just wanted to say how grateful I am that this policy is here now. This was a great, great, great concern, not just for us, but for parents as well. And I think it is very fitting that as a district we took it seriously. These kids have been through a lot, and I think anything we can do, and this whole, we haven't gotten there yet. I know it's in the agenda, the summer school program. I was reading it to my wife, and I was so excited about the fact that we're able to do this. And I am going to sound very pro Murfreesboro City Schools because I am pro Murfreesboro City Schools, but I just don't understand why everybody, I mean, people should be calling us from Nashville to send their kids here. That's how great our school system is. It's just an excellent system, and everything we've done reflects that, and I'm so grateful for this policy, and I just wanted to brag on it a little bit. That's all I've got to say.
Thank you, sir. We have a motion and a second
I
to
have a
approve.
question.
I'm sorry, Ms. Moore.
This is just, I'm very excited about this too. This is just a technical question. About putting something in our policy that's particular to 1 year. Does that mean next year will we want to amend it to pull this out, or is this?
So state law states that you have to have a minimum of 15%. And then they went and amended the law for this year to give us the flexibility to go anywhere from, so currently state law is 15 to 25%. So this year, 0%, and then back to.
I got that. I just
Okay, I'm sorry.
mean putting in our policies, which are like our permanent code of law, something for 1 year, if that's the way we need to do it, or if it's just an exception for a year.
Ms. Taylor?
So when editing it, that was a concern that I had as well. And the way it's written, it says for the 2020-21 school year, it'll be 0%, and in subsequent years, it would go back to 15.
Yeah.
And the reason why it was written like that was just in the off chance that when it rolls around next year, if we forget that, oh, we need to take that out, it's specific that this is only for the 2021 school year, and any year after that, it would go back to the 15.
Okay, thank you.
That would be unless the state gives us that leeway again, right?
Yes, and then we would come with another amendment.
Thank you. We've had a motion and a second to approve the policy. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. All right, policy 5.50, yeah.
That's right.
Yes, this change to policy 5.500, discrimination, harassment of employees, is just a change to update the protected classes that were omitted from the prior version of the policy so that the policy includes all protected classes as defined in law.
Okay. Have a motion to approve the policy.
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Ms. Richardson. Have a second.
Second.
Ms. Moore, any question or comment? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. All right, approval of budget amendments. Ms. Williams, you're up on board first night.
First night.
Break them in early.
First
Don't
night.
be too nervous now.
Ooh,
All nerves. Hi.
good evening.
First of all, I wanted to thank Mr. Duke especially for giving me this opportunity. And as he was talking, I just remembered our very early conversations back in January. It seems like 10 years ago, but it was just really January. Just how excited he was and is about Murfreesboro City Schools. And that excitement really carried forward. And I knew very early on in those early discussions with Mr. Duke that there was something very special going on with Murfreesboro City Schools. So I'm very excited to work with Mr. Duke and the board. And I really do have to give a shout out to the finance department, Beth Prater, and this is an amazing staff.
Yes.
So as I continue to learn, Mr. Duke walks past and how's it going? Learning. So, regardless of the years of experience, I'm a firm believer that we continue to grow and learn as we are challenged. And so, yes, I am challenged. But first of all, we do have 4 different budget amendments before you tonight. The first 3 are in the general purpose operating fund. And these are amendments that are just moving money within the budget categories. So the first one you see is in the attendance line item. We're moving $450 out of salaries and moving that into a staff development line item. This allows our attendance staff to attend an annual conference. It's just moving money, like I said, within that budget category. It's for $450. The second budget amendment is in the Office of the Director. Again, it's in that same budget category. We're moving money out of one line item into another line item. This covers some necessary equipment for Mr. Duke and his staff to buy some laptops and related items. The third budget amendment, again, it's in the same budget category. This one is in the human resources category. This is moving some benefit items. Our state retirement and hybrid retirement, oftentimes when we initially create a budget, we don't always know, based on our new hires, if they're going to come from the legacy retirement plan or the hybrid retirement plan. So this is just moving a little bit of money around into those two into those two retirement accounts. The second part of it on the fringe benefits and the medical insurance, again, that's one of those areas where we don't really know on the front end exactly who's going to be hired, and they may opt in to take that fringe benefit as opposed to the medical insurance. It's just shifting a little bit of money to get it in line with what's really happening, what's the actual part. So those are the three budget amendments in the general purpose operating fund. And the final budget amendment is in the school nutrition fund. And this is moving money around again in the same fund, in the same broad budget categories. And you'll see those budget increases and decreases. And it's moving money out of line items that have some available money. So we're taking money out of some maintenance and repair, out of some food expenses, and moving it into postage and some other contract services and the uniforms. That $80,000 that's increased in that category, the other contract services, that's covering the renovation to the Reeves Rogers cafeteria. And that money was originally budgeted in last fiscal year, so it was approved. And this is just an accounting technical to get that money budgeted in that right category. So, and those are our 4 budget amendments tonight.
Okay, we have any questions, Mr. Ballard?
Welcome, Ms. Williams. I'm looking forward to working with you. I know you've got a lot of new things you'd like to see happen. Hopefully we can enjoy that with you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Okay.
Nice to meet you too.
My question is back on do we consider laptops capital or operating expenses? And maybe if you're not, if I'm hitting you cold on that.
Part of it is to look at how it's originally budgeted in the capitalization threshold. And I think for the most part, laptops are generally considered equipment. I've seen laptops budgeted in equipment in our federal funds and also in our general purpose fund. So it really does have a useful life. Laptops really can have a useful life a little bit longer, 3 to 5 years. So that is an acceptable category in equipment.
Well, my question is really about shifting something from operating expense, the director's expenses, to capital equipment to buy laptops. Is that sound financially to do that?
So taking money out of a labor item to cover equipment.
Isn't the office of director or director of the expense to take money from the salary line and put it into new laptops?
Mm-hmm.
I have a question about, I'm not against it entirely, but it seems like that gives us a lot of flexibility to move money around that maybe doesn't pass the litmus test.
I hear what you're saying, yes. And I will look into that and talk with Ms. Prater about that. In the labor line item, there are some funds available that were not being expended. So I think the majority of it is just keeping it within that budget category.
Yeah.
So, and I will come back to your question. Oh, Mr. Settles.
Mr. Settles?
I'm sorry, that's what I was noticing. I think what it is, it's still in that same category group because it's still the office of the director. Mm-hmm. And the line that I'm reading, we're transferring from the director's salary line. This line has additional funds due to having an interim director of schools. So it's still within that same category. So to me, it doesn't cross any lines. It's still within the office of the director. You're just taking it from the salary, which you don't need now because the interim director position has ended, and you're putting it into something that is needed. So it's still within that same group to me. So I didn't.
Yes, sir.
I'm thinking I'm getting it right because I don't know this stuff. Accounting is learning.
Learning.
So then,
Yes, sir,
Kim,
you are correct.
I'm sorry. What I'm assuming then is that because we have monies that we have not spent in the director's salary line, because we've not had a permanent director, so we have not used the money that we budgeted for director's salary. So now we're able to use that money and use it for equipment or whatever is needed in the director's office and everyday operations. The money is budgeted. It's just going from this category to that category. Like if you go to the store, you got money to buy oranges, and instead you buy bananas. Same thing, right? Okay. I understand.
Well said.
Mr. Richardson?
Yes, Mr. Chairman. Do you believe all these amendments to be reasonable and necessary?
Yes, I do.
Very well. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay. All right, do we have a motion then to approve the budget amendments as presented?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes, sir.
I'd like to make that motion.
Yes, sir, Mr. Settles. Thank you. We have a second.
Second, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposition? And there is none. Thank you. Thank you, Kim, very much.
Thank you.
All right, reports and information. Update on summer school.
Good evening, Board.
Good evening.
Thank you for giving us just a few minutes to share with you where we are so far in our summer school. So I think they're going to pull up the PowerPoint. It's ready. As an instruction department, we have spent a lot of time looking at summer school, and then a special session was called, so we had to wait for a few things to work themselves out. So finally, I think we're on the road of getting some things down pat, and we have a lot of excited teachers ready to join us in teaching summer school. So just real quickly, I want to give you the dates of summer school. It is actually going from June 2nd through June 30th. We're going to take a little break because of the 4th of July, and then it will resume July 7th through the 21st. The time of our summer school is going to be 7:30 to 12:30, and it will be for all students, K through 6. Now you may be thinking, oh, what about our little pre-K? Well, pre-K, we are going to do kinder camp at the end of July, so we will have something for them as well for our upcoming kindergartners at that time. Bus transportation will be provided if needed. Breakfast and lunch will be provided, and attendance will be taken daily, but that will just be for us at central office, just to see what enrollment we started with, where do we end with, so that we can use that as we reflect and go forward for next summer school. Here is just a copy of our schedule, what it will look like. 7:15, students will come in, pick up their breakfast, walk to class. Teachers will be there to greet them. Then our focus is on reading and math or English language arts. So teachers will have 7:30 to 9:15 is their first block. And then it is summer. We got to have a little recess there, so they will have a 30-minute recess break, and then they'll come back in and complete their second block. Intervention will take place at 11:30 to 12:30, and then dismiss at 12:30. Now you see lunch has the asterisk there. We're going to do a little integrated lunch. Might be while we're playing a math game, might be while we're having independent reading. So teachers will have that flexibility from probably 11 to 12 to provide the 30-minute lunch. Now this is tentative, based on enrollment. But right now we have paired schools up with each other just for logistics and for personnel. But we'll look at this based on enrollment once that we get those in. But these are the schools that are paired: Black Fox with Bradley, Scales with Case and Lane, Salem with Overall Creek, Reeves-Rogers with Hobgood, Erma-Siegel with John Pittard, and Mitchell-Nielsen with Northfield. Each school will have an administrator and an office secretary. A nurse will be assigned to 2 schools, and Discovery School students will be integrated based on their zone school. So again, it will be for all students. Teacher expectations. Our teachers will actually be paired. When we think about summer school going actually 32 days, you think, oh my gosh, that's a long time for our teachers, so we're going to pair them. And the expectation is 16 days. Now, I will tell you, we have some teachers interested in teaching the whole 6 weeks, so we'll look at that depending on what we need. Weekly salary of $1,000. Something we're very excited about is class size. We're going to try to keep that to 10 to 12. The instruction department will provide training on the curriculum on May 27th and 28th. We are asking teachers to attend one of those days. We want to make sure they have an understanding of the curriculum, and then more information will be shared with the teachers after registration. Student registration is going online starting Thursday. There's 2 ways they can register, either online by Google Doc form that Ms. Trail and her team have put together, or paper copies that will be sent to the schools. The instruction department actually did that today, and so schools will have those tomorrow, so that if they are doing some in-person parent-teacher conferences on Thursday, they can hand those out then. But we wanted to give them some copies just so, again, it wouldn't be something extra that they would have to do. So the next steps. Yesterday was the first day teachers could actually commit to, I'm interested in teaching 6 weeks and I'm going to do it. We did a Zoom call Friday afternoon with interested teachers, and then I had to do another one yesterday afternoon because there's so many interested. As of this afternoon, we have over 100 teachers that are interested in either teaching the 3 weeks or the 6 weeks. So we are very excited about that. And then that teacher commitments are due March 19th. This is our social media post that will go out, and you may have a copy of that. I think Lisa was going to get that to you, but we're very excited about that. We're going with the Wild About Learning. Each grade level has a different little zoo animal there. Just be a way for us to kind of do a little tracking of where we are with grade levels. So that's kind of summer school in a nutshell. Any questions that you have for me?
All right, Ms. Barton. Ladies first.
Just curious, are you setting a cap on how many students per school, or will that depend on how many teachers you have?
It's really going to depend on a little bit of both.
Okay.
How many teachers we have, obviously, may have to cap the number of students, but I'm determined that anybody that wants to teach is going to teach, and anybody that wants to come here, we're going to make sure we do something. Even if the instruction department has to go teach, we're good with that. We'll do whatever it takes. So I hope we don't have to do that.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Mr. Tuttle.
Thank you. I'm excited.
Oh, we're thrilled.
I'm super excited.
You want to enroll?
I was just about to I plan to enroll. Is this COVID relief funds? Is this where this budget?
So we do have money that has been provided by the state. I believe, Mr. Duke, that was $1.2 million, can serve up to 1,900 students. And then we've had to put some in ESSER for curriculum. We are going to have curriculum math. We're doing Math for Love, which is the hands-on games. You know, it is summer. We want to be intentional, but we also want to have, a little bit of fun. And then we are going to use the expeditionary learning curriculum that we currently have, but it's not going to look like it does during the school day. We're going to pull out some pieces that we haven't used.
And so that I don't know, Murfreesboro City Schools is just so great. So, this is like the best use that I could think of for this. I don't know what other school districts are doing, but if you're watching, watch us.
Yeah. Well, I will say ours is probably a little bit extended length than some other districts you'll hear about, but that's okay. We're excited.
I'm excited. I'm ready. I'm going to sign my grandson up, both of them.
Good.
The other question I had is the focus of the curriculum. I know we're just looking at two things. We're looking at ELA and math, And are we looking at remediation? Are we doing, is there going to be assessment testing at the beginning to kind of see where?
Yes.
Can you talk about that just a little bit?
So we are going to do a benchmark at the beginning
Okay.
of summer school and then at the end. That'll be for us to see, what's worked, what hasn't. Because one thing we know about a good team, we want to come together and reflect when it's over, because we are going to turn around and do this again next year. So we will assess at the beginning again and at the end of that 32 days.
And I appreciate that. One of the major things that I hear continually nationally and locally is how much our children have fallen behind. And, they're going to be so far behind, and they're going to be so far behind. So when I saw this, I was really excited because it says, again, we're speaking to the whole child. We've got transportation, we've got lunch, we've got the whole thing, even the recreation part. And you're also blessing the parents because now they can send their kids to school in the summer. This is great. So kudos.
Thank
Good
you.
work.
Everybody's very excited. Administrators are excited. We have tried to communicate with principals and teachers and assistant principals, and so doing yeah.
Ms. Moore?
Thank you. Like Mr. Settles, I am so excited about this, and parents I've heard from are so excited, and it seems like teachers are so excited. It just feels like another piece of light coming at the end of this awful long dark tunnel we've been in. And I think you answered some of my questions in answering Mr. Settles, but one was about the curriculum. And the other is about the intervention block. Will you be using those diagnostic tests at the beginning to determine what each kid gets during intervention? Will it be individual? How will you?
We'll look at that. Again, it's going to be, Ms. Moore, based on enrollment and what we get, but definitely we will look at each child individually and what they need. So during that 1 hour of intervention, it will be individualized learning, so to speak.
Yeah.
And I think that'd be great with the class size, 10 to 12. We ought to be able to do a lot with that. We're hoping for great things, and, we hardly ever disappoint, so I think it'll be a great time.
And I was also thrilled to see that bus transportation was
Yes.
included in the budget for this. I think that's going to make it.
Yes. It's going to
Ms.
be like
Goff?
another 32 days of school.
Ms. Goff?
Yeah, I wanted to ask if you're doing anything specific to make sure those students that are really struggling are able to attend or are encouraged to attend from home.
So state is requiring this to be in person, but at our title schools, once we open up enrollment and see where we are, we've already talked to principals when instruction department met with principals. We know certain schools we might have to do a little, up our media post and, teachers reaching out. But yes, we are going to keep an eye on that and really push at our Title I schools. Thank you. Absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am. A very good report. The only thing I say is I feel sorry for you on having to pick the teachers, because if you've already got 100 that have applied, I don't know how many you think you're going to need, but I would say you probably won't need that many, but
We're hoping for 140.
welcome to the world of administration.
That's right. We're hoping for 140 teachers, and because that would give us 70. If we split it in half, that would give 70 classrooms.
Okay.
So that's our goal. 700. We'll take anything over that. We'll make it work. We may have to get Mr. Duke and everybody teach him. That's okay. We can do it.
Okay, Mr. Ballard?
I either missed it or I was assuming this is all traditional in-class learning.
Yes, sir.
There's no online learning
No, sir.
participating in
It
this.
is in person.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Thank you, ma'am, very
Thank
much.
you.
I'm excited, too. I'm looking forward to see how it works. And I'm sure it's going to work very well, just
I hope so.
as well as the vaccination did.
Absolutely.
That's right. That's exactly right. And we invite y'all to come see it when it gets started. So,
Yes.
Will do.
thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Duke, you have an update on substitute teachers, or is that Mr. Ringstaff?
Mr. Ringstaff's going to take that.
All right.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Good evening.
We were looking at substitute teacher numbers and comparing them from last year to this year, and we thought we'd share it with the board. The first sheet that you have talks about February 2020. And this is a great snapshot. It gives you daily totals. And then at the bottom, it gives you monthly totals, the very bottom line. We had a total of 936 absences in last year, February 2020. But 57 of those, we did not need a sub. We did need a sub for 879 of those absences. We filled 786 for a total of 89% fill rate, which is very, very good. I broke it down even further. We had 17 days in February the average request per day that we needed to fill was 52. That was the number that we needed to fill, an average. We filled 46, had an average of 46 filled per day, which is pretty good. Now, if you go, any questions on 2020? If you go to the same month, February 2021, and what really got us talking, we noticed the last week of February, and we were very, very excited because we were 97%, 93%, 97%. And that was the week after the snow week. And everybody wanted to sub, and we have fewer absences, teacher absences. So total number of absences in February 2021 was 826. We did not need to fill 141. We did need to fill 685, and 537 were filled. We thought we would have more absences due to COVID, but the average number that we needed to fill per day was exactly the same in 2021 as it was in 2020, 52. The kicker is the average number that we filled each day was 41, 5 fewer than we did last year. So we feel that fewer subs want to sub in our schools right now because of the COVID. Our staff, last week our HR staff interviewed 25 to 30 individuals, invited 20 to our sub orientation, 6 showed up. So we're still beating the bushes, we have another sub orientation on the 17th. We've already invited 20, and we hope that everyone attends. So we thought we'd give you this snapshot and give you updates from time to time.
Mr. Settles?
I have a question. On February 14th through 20 week, we have 0 needed, and then 28. That's just one day, the 28th, I'm guessing. And the fill rate still shows at 0%, is it right? I don't know.
Well, I was hoping you would know.
We're showing a 0% fill rate when actually you didn't need anybody. I'm just wondering if it's making your average off.
Well, I was hoping you would notice the February 26th date in 2021. That was our synchronous day that we went and got shots. For some reason, we had 6 subs to show up, and I don't know what they did.
They worked in vaccination.
So we've taken care of that for the March 26th day. That will not happen again.
Okay.
I tried to glance over that. Thank you, Mr. Settles, for pointing that out.
I have a question.
Ms. Barton?
I just had this thought, Ralph, and it probably wouldn't work, but you have to think about what group of people do we want to appeal to substitute, right? Okay, well, the first group that comes to my mind are people that want a job in Murfreesboro City, okay? And I realize they're in school or whatever, right? But I don't know, just seems like there'd be some way to utilize that resource, or through the education department, if there was a, in their methods classes, there may not be. I know we don't have anything to do with what the curriculum is in those classes, but I mean, those are the people that would have a vested interest in subbing, you know?
And many school districts are reaching out to high school graduates who are going to college to tap into that resource. And during the months of November and December, I allowed ESP staff to work as much overtime as they wanted to sub in our schools, and many of them took advantage of that. We couldn't keep doing that. But
I know.
Any other questions or comments? Mr. Ringstaff, thank you. Good report. Well done. All right. Update on ESSER?
Yes, sir. So in December of 2020, Congress awarded states additional one-time funds as part of the Coronavirus Response and Relief Act. MCS's allocation for this federal grant was $5,642,066. Over the past few months, the team has been working to complete the grant application for submission to the state. Like all federal funds, there are very clear protocols and very specific allowable activities for which this money can be used. Funds must be used to address the needs that have arisen due to COVID-19. Specifically, we've talked about learning loss, continuation of learning during COVID-related absences, social emotional supports, facility repairs. There are very heavy reporting and monitoring requirements with these funds as well to make sure they're being spent appropriately. So in your packet, you will see the plan for 2 years that we are planning on submitting or have submitted now to the state for approval as of yesterday. Some of the major expenditures of this grant, so you're aware of, funding for our summer school program above and beyond what the state is allocating, specifically when we're looking at the administrators we have to have in every building, the school nurses, the office workers. We will be running a full school for 6 weeks, and that's going to take those extra people for sure. The curriculum and materials that we're going to be using, the transportation. In addition, other things include, we mentioned you see the air purification system for Bradley, Discovery, Reeves, Rogers, and Mitchell Nielsen, some social emotional supports for next year, some technology to take us closer to our one-to-one goal. And then several reimbursements you'll see in there from the actual beginning of the year that were COVID-related expenses. So a lot of PPE, you'll see reimbursed for there. Overages for substitutes that maybe because we have had to have our substitutes have been out longer this year, or our teachers have, so they're not out for 1 day at a time, they're out for a week or 10 days at a time. So overages in that. So we're looking to reimburse the GP budget for all of those expenses that are COVID related and then move forward with this plan.
Okay, thank you. Any questions pertaining to this report? Mr. Ballard?
Just what's the significance of the items highlighted in red?
So that is items that we are reimbursing GP with. We originally were under the impression earlier this year when we purchased those that FEMA would be reimbursing us for some of those items. FEMA is not reimbursing us for those items, so we're using this money to reimburse GP for those COVID-related expenses. And most of those you'll see again specifically are things that were purchased at the very beginning of the year when we were starting distance learning.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Barton?
I see nurses overtime, which is something I know we had talked about before. How is that? Is that how are you doing that?
So we are reimbursing our GP for it.
Okay.
So the money that we had spent out of GP, that is a COVID-related expense that this grant would fund, and so we can just pay our GP money budget back for that.
Ms. Moore?
So with all this reimbursement of the GP fund, will we have a surplus, or were we going to be running a deficit?
So we won't necessarily have a surplus. This money, a lot of this where you see FEMA next to it, when we spent that money originally, our understanding was FEMA was going to be reimbursing us for that anyway. Gotcha. So that money was budgeted for those items with the understanding it would be reimbursed. It just is now not being reimbursed from FEMA. It's now being reimbursed out of this grant.
Got it. So it just shakes out evenly.
Yes.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay. Any other questions? Thank you, sir. Very good report. All right, other business. Any other business coming before this board tonight? If not, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Richardson. We have a second.
Second.
Thank you, Mr. Ballard. All in favor? Good night.